Most people think the Yakuza are just men in sharp suits with tattoos and missing fingers. They don't see the reality of a life built on absolute hierarchy, brutal rituals, and a slow, agonizing crawl to the top. The journey starts at the bottom. You are not a boss, you are a kobun, a child in a family. You don't have a name, you have chores. You wake up at 5 in the morning to clean the headquarters. You scrub floors, you polish shoes, and you wait. If the boss asks for tea, you make the tea. If he asks for a cigarette, you light it before he even finishes reaching into his pocket. Your entire existence is defined by the Oyabun-Kobun relationship. This is a pseudo-parental bond, but with the stakes of a death sentence. In the Yakuza world, the boss is not just your boss, he is your father. When you join, you participate in the Sakazuki ceremony. You drink sake from a small cup shared with your boss. This is a blood oath. You are now part of a corporate structure that has existed for centuries. To survive the early days, you need to be invisible and useful. You work the streets, you collect protection money from local bars, you run gambling dens, you handle the dirty work that the police ignore until it becomes a headline. You are the low-level muscle. You make very little money. Most of what you earn goes directly to your seniors. You live in a cramped apartment. You eat cheap convenience store food. You do this for years. Then, the moment of truth arrives. You have to prove your loyalty. This is where the yubitsume comes in. It is a ritual amputation. If you fail your boss or if you cause a problem that brings unwanted police attention to the family, you cut off your own left pinky finger. You wrap it in a clean cloth. You present it to your oyabun as an act of contrition. It is a permanent mark of failure. It is also a reminder that your body no longer belongs to you. It belongs to the family. If you survive the beatings, the arrests, and the potential amputations, you move up to the rank of wakashu. Now you have a little bit of power. You get your own kobuns. You start running a territory. This is when the money starts flowing. But the danger spikes. You aren't just fighting the police anymore. You are fighting other families. In the 1980s, during Japan's economic bubble, the Yakuza were essentially real estate developers. They were involved in massive land deals. They moved billions of dollars. They weren't just thugs, they were power brokers. But those days are long gone. Today, they are fighting for survival. The Japanese government passed the anti-organized crime law in 1992. Then, the organized crime exclusion ordinances in 2011 changed everything. If you are a Yakuza today, you are a social pariah. You cannot open a bank account. You cannot rent an apartment. You cannot even get a cell phone contract. You are a ghost in your own country. Despite this, the hierarchy remains. To become a boss, a kumicho, you have to be more than just a street fighter. You have to be a politician. You have to balance the interests of the Yamaguchi Gumi, the Sumiyoshi Kai, or the Inagawa Kai. You have to manage the internal politics of hundreds of men. You have to know when to settle a dispute with cash and when to settle it with a funeral. The life of a boss is not the cinematic vision of an office in a skyscraper. It is a life of constant surveillance. You are always under the watch of the Tokyo Metropolitan Police. You live in a fortress. You are cut off from the rest of society. You have no friends outside the life. Your only companions are the men who want your job and the men who are waiting for you to die so they can claim your territory. Think about the cost. You spend your 20s scrubbing floors. You spend your 30s losing fingers and dodging prison time. You spend your 40s and 50s hiding from the law and managing constant infighting. And if you make it to the top, your reward is being the most hated man in your city, with a target painted on your back by both your rivals and the government. The Yakuza pride themselves on the concept of ninkyo, or chivalry. They claim they are a necessary evil that maintains order in the underworld. They claim they help when the earthquakes hit and the government is too slow. They tell themselves they are the protectors of the forgotten. But this is a romanticized lie meant to keep the ranks filled. There are only about 20,000 active members left in Japan today. That is a massive drop from the 18,000 members who were active in the early 1960s. The younger generation isn't interested. Why would they be? In a world of digital connection and global markets, the idea of bleeding for a local boss in a dying organization is a relic of a failed past. Is it worth it to be the king of a sinking ship? The Yakuza built their power on the idea that they were a family that would never abandon you. But as the laws tighten and the money dries up, the family is the first thing that disappears. You find yourself standing alone in a suit that is getting too big for you, holding a cup of sake that no one wants to drink. You spend your entire life trying to become the boss, only to realize that the position is just a different kind of prison. The structure you swore your life to didn't protect you, it just consumed you. In the end, there are no winners in the world of organized crime. There are only those who realized the game was rigged too late, and those who are still waiting for their turn to lose everything. If you give your life to an organization that only values your utility, what happens to you when you are no longer useful? The Yakuza provide a template for how we trade our individuality for the safety of a group. But when the group disappears, all that is left is the empty space where your life used to be. Is the prestige of a title ever worth the total erosion of your own soul?